When I get out of the train station, 3 cop cars pull up in front of me. They get out the car and they pull out guns on me, and they got guns drawn directly to me. Apparently, somebody called the cops and said that I was holding a gun.
I don't know where he gets this from,
Said that I had a pistol.
I honestly don't know where he gets that from.
Well, do you ever call the police on him?
She's the judge who gives rules on the law and life. She's intense with common sense. She's Judge Lynn Toller on Divorce Court, where real couples deal with real life. Noheme and David met when she was 29 and he was her kid's 18-year-old babysitter. Despite their age difference, they fell in love and soon became husband and wife. Now Noheme says she thinks David needs a babysitter of his own.
We made an agreement. He was not gonna tattoo any female in a private area. I walk into the tattoo shop, I see my husband tattooing a female. His hand is compressed on her crotch.
She comes to my job acting all irate. It gets so out of hand that my boss wants to call the cops on her, so he tells me, listen, I don't want to have to do this, so I'm just gonna fire you.
Will the distrust that tears through this marriage ruin it, or can it be saved for the sake of their young son? That is, if the baby really is his.
The baby's about 20 months.
Yes, Your
correct?
Honor.
So you had the baby after you were married.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why don't you think that baby's yours?
Today on Divorce Court.
All rise. Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Lynn Toller presiding. You may be seated.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here today with Noheme Perez and David Perez. Mr. and Mrs. Perez, you have been married 3 years. You have 1 child between you, or actually, Mr. Perez, you're not quite sure it is your child. Mrs. Perez, you want to save the marriage. Mr. Perez, you have had it completely. I can just see it all over you. Because you have the question about paternity, we did do a DNA test, and I will provide you with those results. However, before we get to that and any potential monetary resolution, I'm going to start with Mrs. Perez and ask you to tell me why we're here today.
I'm upset because he's questioning the DNA of our son. We've been together for 8 years, Your Honor, and he waits 8 years for us to have a baby to question the DNA of his son.
Okay, but the baby's about 20 months.
Yes, Your
correct?
Honor.
So you had the baby after you were married.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why don't you think that baby's yours?
Well, apparently, you know, at the time, when she was supposedly got pregnant, we were on shaky grounds, you know what I mean? I was actually living with a family member because we had broken up, you know? So, plus I actually got tested at the doctor, and they told me I was shooting blanks. So
that's not true, Your Honor.
How long ago was that? Was that recently, or?
It was around the same time she got pregnant.
What is your version?
What happened was that we have sex constantly. 2, 3, 4 times a day. So he doesn't have time to build up enough sperm. So when we went to the doctor, okay, they told us that he needed to be, you know, refrain himself from having so much sex,
right?
So he can build up his sperm count. And sure enough, we did that, and then
sorry,
the baby
Mr.
happened.
Perez. I know it's just killing you. You know, women talk about this stuff all the time, and it doesn't bother us, and we sometimes forget how y'all feel about it. So we'll
totally
move
understandable.
We'll move forward. Mr. Perez, why don't you trust her? You were separated at the time, but is there anything that she did that makes you feel she may have been with somebody else?
Well, especially for the fact that she has trust issues with me. You know what I mean? That's what really leads me to believe that she is actually doing something. When somebody is constantly accusing you, yeah,
it's because they're doing it.
You know, obviously it's because they're doing something.
Well, what kind of accusations does she make?
Well, I actually had a coworker text me on my phone, and it was because I had a customer at my job, and she accused me of having sexual relations with her.
Just because she texted you on
every
the phone?
time we go out, she accuses me of having, you know, some kind of googly eyes, what she calls it.
Do you suspect that he's cheating? Why don't you trust him?
The reason why I don't trust him, Your Honor, is because he not only did he lie to me about his initial being a tattoo artist, I purchased the tattoo gun for him.
Hang on. What was the lie he told about being a tattoo artist?
When he became a tattoo artist and I supported that, we made an agreement. 1, we were gonna do tattoos together. 2, he was
That's
not
a
gonna
lie.
tattoo any female in a private area. I got him a nice job. I walked into the tattoo shop. What's the first thing I do?
She didn't get me a job.
I see my husband tattooing a female on her. She had a C-section. It's a very low line. I got pictures of him tattooing her with, not only did I see it myself, but his hand is compressed on her crotch, and all you see is her pubic hairs.
Mrs. Perez, I would go to you, Mr. Perez, but there's no need. That man was working.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm an artist.
Working. However,
you really expect him to turn away the business?
I expected him trust, yes.
You
yes, I
expect
did.
him to turn away the business?
Trust,
No, I
yes.
don't want that $700. It doesn't make any sense. You cannot facilitate a guy to get into a profession in which normally a good 30% of what you do involves something you don't want to see him do. Doesn't make any sense.
Okay, so then
Can I say
therefore,
something?
like he just
Doing
said,
tattoos is the only job I've been able to keep since the age of 17 because of her. I've had 40 jobs since the age of 17, and because of her, I lost all
you
of them.
got kicked out your house because you couldn't find a job.
Come on.
Tell me 1 or 2 circumstances in which she cost you your job.
Okay, I was working at a moving company. She comes to my job acting all irate and arguing, you know, to the point that it gets so out of hand that my boss wants to call the cops on her. So he tells me, listen, I don't want to have to do this, so I'm just going to fire you.
Did
and
that
he sent me
happen?
home.
No, that's not true. He got himself
She didn't
fired
wanna leave
because he
until
had no
I get
sense
fired.
of direction. They kept on telling me, David is taking too long with the routes. He's getting lost all the time, and the delivery people are waiting for delivery.
Why would they call you?
No, again, the friend is my friend, his boss.
I understand that, but once...
So they calling me, telling me, look, they call, they're not knowing the personal problems.
Perez,
They call me because they say, should I let David go?
Question. When something happens, you tell another story that is just barely related to it, and you don't understand why it is nobody understands. I want you to hang quiet for a minute.
That's exactly what I tell her every time.
When Divorce Court continues, is the proof in the pictures?
He started kicking my car door. I brought pictures. Kicking my fender, made enormous amount of damage to my car.
Did you do that?
And later, is David the biological father of Noheme's son?
When did you begin to question the
Well, he
paternity?
started getting a little older, and I noticed his tone was a little lighter. His hair was super curly. Never had curly hair. He started changing on me.
Divorce isn't easy. Call toll-free at 1-877-311-2222 or visit our website at divorcecourt.com or become a fan at facebook.com/divorcecourt.
Divorce Court is back with the case of Noheme Perez, who says she wants to save her marriage even though she doesn't trust her husband. But will David want to save the marriage when he finds out the true paternity of Noheme's son?
When did you start believing he wasn't yours? You say, Mrs. Perez, that he has an anger problem. Explain that to me.
He got angry because I took too long getting ready with the baby to take him to work. He starts ranting and raging, screaming, takes the TV, picks it up, rah, throws it on the floor, breaks the TV. Now nobody's not gonna watch nothing. This is my TV. Then, because I'm not taking him to work, now forget about it, I'll catch a cab. He'll go downstairs, he walked outside and started kicking my car door. I brought pictures, kicking my fender, made enormous amount of damage to my car.
What is your version of that event?
And look, the picture's
here
right
it is.
there. That's what he did to my car.
Yeah, I did.
Okay,
I say it
explain
with
that
my
to
head
me.
up high. I did it. You know why I did it?
Why?
Because this woman drives me to a point where I get this feeling inside of me, and I just gotta let it loose somehow.
Are you serious?
And I decided to take it out on my car, which is, you know, better than most would say. You know what I mean?
But was the argument about which you were so angry the one about getting to work?
This is how it started, okay? She's, you know, doing whatever she does in the morning, all right? She sees I'm
Taking
getting
care of our
ready.
sons.
You know, I took a shower. I start getting ready. Now, I would think she would be, you know, smart enough to start getting the baby ready, you know what I mean, so that we could put him in the car and take him to work. Apparently, I have to do that. You know what I mean? And if I don't do that, it's a problem. You know, and then I start telling her, you know, Hurry up. I gotta go to work. I'm trying to be a responsible man so that I can make money to support her.
Does that give you any reason to kick the car?
Listen,
that was because we. On my car? What reason does that give you to kick my car?
I was driven to do that.
Okay,
I was driven to do that.
Let's talk about being driven places. She also says that you once punched a hole in a wall and that you also cut up her clothing. Is that true?
Those are personal things between us. She does the same thing to me.
So you just have one of those houses where there's just a whole lot of chaos going on all the time.
Exactly, yeah.
People get angry, things get broken, torn up, ripped up.
And all I'm trying to do is make everything work out for my son.
Mr. Perez, you say she's a compulsive police caller. Tell me about that.
Well, every time we fight, she likes to call the cops. That's one thing.
Every time we fight, she's breaking all my stuff.
When one day, you know, I'm on my way to work, I took the train because we didn't have the car at the time. Okay, when I get out of the train station, 3 cop cars pull up in front of me, and they get out the car and
that's random.
They pull out guns on me, and they got guns drawn, okay, directly to me. And when I'm trying to figure out what's going on, I have my tattoo equipment with me, and I got my hands up, and I'm like, what's going on? Apparently, somebody called the cops and said that I was holding a gun.
I don't know where he gets this from.
Said that I had a pistol.
I honestly don't know
do you
where he
ever
gets
call
that
the
from.
police on him?
When he damages my property, and it's to the point that it's unreasonable, we can't speak about it, he continues on and he doesn't stop, I don't have anyone else to call, so I'm gonna say, look, I'm gonna call 911 if you don't stop breaking my stuff.
I will say this, Mr. Perez. First of all, I know she winds you up and carries on. I can see that. She can't stop, she gets
gets her point
and
across.
There's a whole lot going on. I got that.
I can't get my point across.
But Mr. Perez, your response is not helping, number one, and it is making it more chaotic for your children. When one spouse blows and carries on, and when he whips up the other one, it never helps. It doesn't stop anything. It accelerates things, and everything gets worse. You got to respond with.
Look, Your Honor, perfect example.
And I'm talking to you because I think you're better able to handle your than she is.
When divorce court continues, Judge Lynn reveals the results of the DNA test.
Show this man what's up. What's up, Mr. Perez?
If you would like your case heard on Divorce Court, call us toll-free at 1-877-311-2222 or log on to our website at divorcecourt.com and follow us on Twitter @Divorce Court. Divorce Court returns with the case of David Perez, who doesn't believe he is the biological father of his wife's child. But is he wrong?
I'm gonna get the DNA together. You fought over the name of the baby. What kind of fight did you have?
Oh,
Oh my God. He wasn't there for the whole 9 months of my pregnancy.
I wanted a David Jr.
In and out, in and out, in and out.
I wanted
every
David
single
Jr.
day, I'm deciding, David, what's the name of the baby gonna be? Because I do not believe in naming of the baby after the father or the mother.
Why not? It's my first son.
I want the baby to have its own name, its own identity. It can't be so-and-so David, the middle name. I agreed with that, putting his name as the middle name. But it wasn't so. And we're going through the paperwork to give the baby the name. He starts screaming at me in the delivery, in the room. Will the baby there, cursing at me, calling me names, calling me B-I-T-C-A.
What is your version of that event? What is your version of that event?
My version is we start talking about the name, and she starts saying, I'm putting Emmanuel, I'm putting Emmanuel. I don't like Emmanuel. I'm putting Daniel, I'm putting Elijah. She's stating all these names that I really honestly don't like.
David.
And I was like, listen, this is my first child. I would really, 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 really want him to be called David and carry on my legacy. You know what I mean? She's just not trying to hear that.
A kid that he's been denying throughout my whole pregnancy. Mind you, Your Honor, a child that he was denying throughout the whole 9 months of the pregnancy.
Let's get to that. When did you start believing he wasn't yours?
Since
because
when he was conceived in my belly.
I am trying to speak. Obviously, at the hospital, you really thought it was yours because you were whooping and hollering about he should be named David. So when did you begin to question the
Well, he started getting a little older, and I noticed his tone was a little lighter. His hair was super curly. Never had curly hair. He started changing on me. You know what I mean?
They all change.
I don't know. I mean,
My youngest looked like a little Asian kid.
I do say I love him to death.
When he was born.
So the picture that
And
we have.
look at your face. You lit up like a Christmas tree when you saw him.
I love him.
Show this man what's
I love
up.
him.
What's up, Mr. Perez? What's up? Talk about it. Yell it to the world.
I guess this makes me happy. This makes me a happy father to my son.
You're the father. Not now.
He put me through so much from back, Your Honor. You know that?
Mr. Perez, when you accuse a woman of having somebody else's baby, it hurts her to the core. So I'm gonna back up for a couple seconds and watch you do the right thing.
I apologize.
Look at it, Mr. Perez.
I apologize for ever thinking this, that he wasn't my son.
One.
It's just,
He provokes me.
at the time, like I said, we were on shaky grounds. I was living with my mom. Doctor told me I couldn't produce babies.
All right.
It's a lot of things that happened that led me to believe that he wasn't my son. And
Now, are
and
you
I
two
just had to
currently
question it.
together, or are you still separated?
we're together,
Here's what I'm gonna ask.
but we're not doing good.
Oh, I can see that. I can see that.
When divorce court continues, can Judge Lynn talk some sense into Noheme and David?
There's a science to containing your emotions. There is an art to being self-contained and calm when all others would get excited. You two don't even try to do it, and it's something that you can do.
Divorce court returns with the case of David and Noheme Perez, who are contemplating divorce after 3 years of marriage and 1 child together.
Both of you are 2 little cans of crazy living in 1 little carton. And the problem with that is you got a kid in there with you.
Yep.
You two need to change the script in your home. I don't care who starts the fight. I don't care whose problem it is. You never need to raise your voice. It does not resolve anything. If there comes a time where you cannot contain yourself, you touch hands, you said we're going to table it, you go to different rooms. What you need to do
I try praying.
is get marriage counseling. Because you have to learn not to want to do that. There's an art to it. There's a science to containing your emotions. There is an art to being self-contained and calm when all others would get excited. You two don't even try to do it. And it's something that you can do. You feel like you can't help yourself, but you can. It is a matter of training. It is a matter of deciding that you have the power to determine how you will feel and what you will do. You don't know how to do it. You guys got to go someplace and learn. Do you agree with me on that?
Yes, Your Honor. Of course.
Do you agree with me on that?
You ask me, I feel like I've been doing that for the longest already.
But it's unsuccessful.
It's just that sometimes it just doesn't
Mr.
work.
He's unreasonable, Your Honor.
In order to fix anything, you have to live from today forward. If what you've been doing hasn't been working, you must do something else. What you have been doing hasn't been working. So there's no need to revisit it. You both need anger management, marriage counseling, individual psychological counseling, anything you can do. Buy every self-help book in the store.
And I'm willing to do it.
And for your son.
For my son.
For your son. This matter is adjourned.
All rise. Parties may leave the courtroom.
Noheme reports that since visiting divorce court, her marriage has improved enormously. David is much happier and more secure. She says he realizes he has to be more flexible and patient with their baby, and he's successfully working on curbing his anger. She thanks Judge Lynn for her patience and her good advice.